Cool. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. I guess we can jump in if you want.
Yeah.
Let's start with 70,000 tons. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. We're glad to come over there again. I think I've been there 2 times and it's been really a lot of fun. So
Yeah, I've seen you before on the boat too, and that's always a blast, right?
it is a special thing, and I think everybody's just enjoying themselves all the time there. It's great event.
It's very different from other festivals, right? They're all, I mean, because you're so close and right out up in person with everybody, right?
Yeah, it's very different than the normal festivals, of course. And actually, I haven't done any other cruises, so I can't compare how those are. But 70,000 is a special thing, and there's a very nice atmosphere, I think.
Yes. I think I've gone 7 out of the last, whatever, 10 or 11. So I've always had a blast.
Yeah.
And I've seen you guys a couple times and it's always been fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk about the new record.
Cool.
It's a concept album, I see.
It is.
And does that come about as a result of one of your members' stories, or is that off of another story?
Yeah, it's my short story.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I'm happy to talk about it.
I would love to. Yes. So is it an actual short story at first, or a novel, or?
It's a short story. So it's quite easily printed on the vinyl version and the art book version. And the art book version also has the Finnish version, so that's quite long. But I think on the standard jewel case CD, it would have been too long for that, so it's not there. But so it's not overly long. It's just a short story, something I wrote specifically for this purpose.
Have you ever done something like that before? Tried to convert a story into a record?
Yes, with our Winter's Gate album, we did 2016.
Do you think
a short story?
Do you think it's more difficult doing something like that, creating that whole narrative as opposed to just writing songs for the song's sake?
It takes more time. It's more demanding, of course, but I think if it all works out nicely, it gives a kind of deeper layer for the whole thing. That there is a bigger story that spans the whole album from start to finish. It's all part of the same story. So concept albums, they are harder to make, but if it works, it'll be great.
So yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right. Hopefully it works, but there are some who put concept albums together that don't work, and then I'm reminded of stuff like Operation Mindcrime, which just like works amazing, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not easy. It's not a sure thing that if you do a concept album, it will be better than your normal albums.
Right.
You need a good story and some kind of plan how to combine the music and the story, but
and still get the characters across in a musical form, right? In short verse.
Yes, all of that should work, and I'm quite happy with what we've done. Of course, other people can judge and review it, but I'm quite happy what we.
I'm sure it's going to be great. I mean, I heard the single. It's what is it? Anno 1696.
Yeah, that's the name of the album. Yes.
And I heard the single as well. I think it's Lilian, right?
Lilian. Yeah,
and so, I mean, I think it continues on with, I've always been a fan, and I think it carries on that Insomnium legacy, I guess. I mean, it's definitely Insomnium, right?
It is. We haven't changed our style dramatically. Actually, Lilian is I think it's almost maybe the second softest, easiest song on the album. So there's a lot darker material coming. And already with the next single, you guys can see that there's darker stuff coming, and so even some black metalish influences here and there. So it's for Insomnium record, I think it's quite dark stuff.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I guess the material is quite dark as well, right? You're talking about a period in time.
Yeah, the 17th century history in Europe. It's a dark period, and there's a lot of crazy stuff happening there. And like I'm a history fan. I studied history in university, and that period has always been like one of my favorite eras, along with middle age, medieval times. So
Right. But I think some of the messages and some of the relatable factors of the record or the song are probably going to be relatable today, right? Because we're just as fucked up here in this time period.
We definitely are. And like, I didn't write it as a kind of analogy for the modern times, but there are also the same themes that kind of come haunt the human race time after time. They never disappear, like greed and like paranoia and this kind of what happens with witch trials. Like, people can be led to believe crazy stuff, and they believe they are doing the right cause, but they do terrible things, and you can see that in the world everywhere.
Right. Even before social media, there was this kind of crap.
Yeah, there was, but now it's on a new level, of course. And well, everybody knows that, and we don't have to get deeper. But
right. But history repeats itself, so yeah,
it does. And humans don't learn.
So when you guys are writing the record, were you guys all writing together, like in the old traditional sense, in a room, or were you kind of just emailing things back and forth and ideas?
It's emailing back and forth. Like, we have 4 composers in the band, so everybody works home in the home studio and then makes some kind of demo, sends it to the other guys, and then we'll comment it. And okay, riff A sounds good, riff B, it sucks, make something better.
Right.
And that's how it goes. And in the end, we have some songs that most of us think are really good. And I think that's a good way of making sure that the material is strong. Like, all of us, we have to agree that this is a good song now. All the parts are good. We can actually put this on the album.
Right.
So that's how we work. And but of course, before we go to studio, we have kind of final arrangement camp. We get to the rehearsal place for 3-4 days and put everything together and finalize the arrangements and stuff like that. So then we get together, and it's kind of faster interaction. But the composing happens, we do it by ourselves.
So do you find it difficult, or do you spend any amount of time making sure you don't write the previous record? Does that make sense? Intentionally being a little bit different than, because it's easy, I'm sure, to fall into, well, this sounds like the last record, or I know you're not reinventing Insomnium, but you're still trying to differentiate record to record, right?
We are, and it's always balancing, kind of tightroping that you want to be the band you are and not lose the essence of the band, but still you don't want to make the same album over and over again. So I think that's what we are always trying to achieve, that it still sounds like Insomnium, but we'll invent something fresh, something we haven't done before. And if somebody makes a riff that the others think, okay, that sounds a bit too familiar, we've done that already.
Right.
So it might be that, okay, we scrap it, we have to invent something better, something new. So we are aware of it all the time when we compose.
Yeah, I imagine you sort of have to be, because it's probably easy to fall into, that's kind of a riff from the last record or something like that.
Yeah, and it happens a lot. And of course, all the composers, they have their own kind of signature stuff they do. It just comes from within us. So others can spot it. You've done that previously. You have to invent something else, but you don't necessarily see it yourself.
Right. So I see that there are 8 tracks on the record, I believe anyway. And
yeah.
So when you're writing and you guys get ready to go in the studio, especially for this record, did you have like a lot of them that got filtered, or were they 8 and you just perfected those?
We had, in the demo phase, I think we had like maybe 15 demos or something like that. But in the end, we recorded 11 songs, and then we decided we had 11 songs over 70 minutes of music.
Wow.
But then we thought that this material is so strong that they are not just bonus tracks, these leftovers. So we decided we're going to make this like kind of extended album version, which has 11 songs. So on this art book version of the album, you have actually 11 songs. So there's the 8.
Okay, cool.
That's the basic album, and then there's the EP Songs of the Dusk EP, which has 3 songs.
Okay.
That's the way we planned it.
What's it like being back out on the road again?
It was great. We did 2.5 weeks in Europe with Moonspell, Borknagar, Wolfheart, and Hinayana from Texas.
Right.
It was a great lineup. Very good shows everywhere. Really nice package. Really good atmosphere on the tour. I think we all enjoyed it a lot.
That's great. So I remembered what I was going to say now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Nowadays, everybody's like interested in like getting the single. The attention span's really, really small, right? Let me get a digital single. But you guys are actually putting out the full album. And I think there's a whole art lost in the sequencing of a record, right? The ebbs and flows and making it, especially if you're translating a story, making it work so the listener is emotional when they're supposed to be emotional and that sort of thing, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And we are so old guys that we love the album form.
Yes,
we want to do albums.
Right.
And I don't think we'll turn into TikTok band that only releases 1 minute songs.
Right, but a whole lot goes into sequencing, right?
Yeah. So we're old guys, we love albums and we want to plan whole albums. So that's how
I think people like my son's age, they're missing that whole thing because they consume everything in 90-second, 3-minute intervals, and there's no. But I like the record, and I mean it was a whole process, right? Buying the record, reading the liner notes, listening to the way you put it together, and it's a thing.
It is a thing, and let's hope it will not be totally lost. Like my oldest son, he collects vinyls now and plays guitar, and he has found the right thing, and I'm really happy for that.
So he's going to carry the torch for the old vinyl way. That's nice.
Yes.
So what does an Insomnium crowd look like nowadays? Because you guys have been around for a long time. I think you probably have multi-generations coming, right?
Yes, I think it's a very kind of varied crowd. There's like older people, and then there are teenagers and everything in between, and there are men and women, and it's kind of varied crowd in a very good way. And it's not just old people, and there's luckily like teenagers as well and young people. So
yeah, I mean it's great to know that not only your music but metal is being carried on that way. Because I know I go to shows and I see people, or even myself, I take my kids to the shows and introduce them to it.
Yeah, and that's what has happened. And the new generations are coming and finding metal music, and like mostly metal is still underground thing, and I think it kind of stays that way. And it's supposed to be a bit of an underground.
So too, right?
It's not for everyone. That's the point.
Right. I think you're 100% right.
Yeah. And so I'm not like worried about the future of metal music. Of course, let's see how the tours will do. There are tough times now for touring bands at the moment. But
and I just saw Moonspell canceled.
Yeah, the UK tour. Yeah,
I know it's hit or miss, right? I think it's probably too flooded of a market, and then you still got all this financial crap.
Yeah. Combine those things, and it will be difficult. So I think a lot of tours will be postponed for some time, and and you have to, as a band, you have to plan carefully what you want to do next.
So how? I mean, you got to take a lot into consideration then before you book a show, because there's a whole bunch of advances and a whole bunch of equipment and logistics, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot of planning. Like before the tour is even announced, there's a lot of work and planning. Agents are booking the shows, and
so many parts.
Yeah, there's a lot of work. Many emails are being sent before the tour is ready. Yeah.
Right, and I think it's probably pretty difficult, if I understand, to play the U.S. still. I think there's all kinds of expenses and stuff to play over here.
Yes, and of course, you have to fly from Europe, and then you have to buy the visas. That's getting more expensive every year.
And then the bus, and then all the other shit,
And the bus has, in a couple of years, it has gotten like crazy, like how expensive the buses are. So it's not getting easier.
So what do you guys have planned next then, leading up to 70K?
I think before that, two more singles are being released. I think one in December, one in January.
Okay.
And so everybody's gonna hear a bit more of the new album before the cruise. We have some Finnish shows in December, but mostly it's the album promotion.
Are you I don't know if you can announce this or not, but are you going to play the record like in its entirety straight through live, or is that not a thing because it's a story?
I probably can't say anything about that
Fine.
yet. Let's see.
No worries at all. That'd be great. But anyway, that's pretty much the end of my questions. I hope that wasn't too bad.
That wasn't too bad. Hopefully you remembered all the questions.
Yeah, I remembered. I got them. I'm recording and we're all good. I'm sorry about that little blip. I kind of just lost my train of thought totally. I will see you on the boat for sure. I look forward to seeing you guys again. And did I miss anything you want to cover?
All good.
Excellent. So if fans want to find you, Insomnium, and you guys are pretty active social media, I guess?
We are. We are easily found.
Awesome. Thank you for the time, my friend. Happy holidays, and I will see you on the boat.
Thank you, Bruce. Bye.
Be well. Cheers.
Cheers.